Alright, what is up guys? It is Robert of Gaming with Me, and welcome to a discussion on the PlayStation 4 generation. If you didn't know, which I don't know how you don't know if you're watching this video, the PlayStation 5 comes out literally when I should upload this. It should be tomorrow. By the time you watch this, the console may already be out. By the time you watch this, the console may have been out for 2 years. By the time you watch this, the PlayStation 7 may be out. But hey, thanks for coming out to hear me talk about the PlayStation 4 generation. I already did one for the Xbox One generation, and I thought it was a perfect time to talk about the PlayStation 4 generation and my overall thoughts on how I felt about this console. When I was younger, I had a PlayStation 2, and I really enjoyed the console. I'm not going to sit here and act like I played a million games for it, which is why so many I'm purchasing now, and I'm playing the games now. But I was definitely first and foremost, I guess you could say a Sony guy I never label myself as anything just because I was, very young. When I really got into the games industry as a whole, I technically didn't have even a PS3. I wanted to play as many games as I could, of course, because I was like 14. It was like all about just playing a variety of games. And so one of the platforms you got to pick up, of course, is Sony's PlayStation 4. And so in 2014 in February is when I picked up mine. It wasn't like literal launch day, but it's the launch window, you could say. Very instantly that I noticed with the PlayStation 4 is I really like this damn controller. If you could see, this is my original PlayStation 4 controller, the DualShock 4, and admittedly though, it's a little rusty. You can't quite see it right here. I'll take some photos of it, but the actual analog sticks, the grips, the little things of it has been peeling off for quite a while now. And I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it is kind of a shame that it does that. But I guess it's to be suspected over 7 years of using the same controller. The PlayStation 4 was the lead platform for developers to work on, so every single third-party multiplat was always running better on the base PS4 compared to the base Xbox One. There's always some minor details that were always benefiting the PS4 over the Xbox One, and so for me, every time I picked up a multiplat, it was always on the PS4. And luckily with Sony's console, they got every single damn third-party game you could imagine. Pretty much 99% of the games that were third-party, multiplat, were on a PlayStation 4. And that's something to, to give credit where credit's due. I don't really talk huge about third-party like that, but when we're talking about a console, the overall library, it got essentially every single third-party game. But where I really give those points, where I really give the credit, is the exclusives, and Sony had quite the lineup this generation. The early days of PS4 when I picked it up in 2014 wasn't really a lot. For instance, I remember playing Warframe and Blacklight Retribution, I believe, and I remember loving those games for a while. I was like, wow, I don't even need any other game. Man, this is so damn good, these games. And I probably spoke too soon because I don't think I played them after a week or so. Those are free-to-play games, and I know Warframe's on every platform. And actually, Warframe, I think, is actually I want to get back into Warframe. It looks like there's a lot of stuff that they put into it. I was really waiting for those exclusives, though. And the first exclusive that I picked up was the month after in March, which was Infamous Second Son. I absolutely loved this game, and I know it's very mixed for some people. I know some people say, oh, it's very mediocre, it's great. For me, it was one of my fucking damn favorite games during that time. I loved that game. I 100%ed it. I had such a damn blast with it. And even today, I was playing it for a little bit, and I was still really enjoying it. And obviously, again, this is all my opinion, so for me, that was a huge win, this game for me. Over the course of the last 7 years, 2013 to 2020, I mean, technically for me, it was February of 2014, but you get the gist. I picked up 14 exclusive games. And now I know some people are going to be mad when I say this. I'm just stating facts here, but I own like Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding, but those aren't exclusives. And Persona 5, they're not exclusive. They're on PS3, they're on PC. They're not exclusive. And so for me, I don't count them. And I would actually count them if they didn't come to PC like till, 3 years down the road. But it happened within the generation. Like, it literally did happen within this generation, So for me, if I'm being fair, I don't count them on Xbox, so I'm not counting them on PlayStation. it just doesn't count. They're not exclusive anymore. They're on a different platform you can buy them on. 14 is a pretty solid number, and compared to the Xbox One, that is a fucking boatload, because the Xbox One only had one, which was Halo 5 during its whole lifespan. If you take 14 games and you divide it over 7 years, it only is about 2 games a year. That's really low. That's really low. And that was my problem with the PlayStation 4, is that if you're like me and you own a PC and an Xbox One and a Switch, you have so many different ways to play multiplats. While, don't get me wrong, most of the time I actually picked up my multiplats on PS4, but if I didn't quite have a reason to turn on my PS4 nearly as often as I would have hoped. With only 2 to 3 games a year, let's say I even included Horizon and Death Stranding and stuff, that's about almost 3 games a year. Even then, I mean, that doesn't really add a bunch. The consistency in which Sony outputted their games was really low. It was quite frustrating. I would argue that Sony's best year for the PlayStation 4 was this year with Dreams, The Last of Us Part 2, and now Ghost of Tsushima. And admittedly, I don't think that's a lot. It's 3, you know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I know there's some other ones I still want to pick up, like Gravity Rush 2, Days Gone. So there are things that I did miss over this lifespan, of course, and there's obviously always going to be some that you're just not interested in. But for the most part, I'm sure a lot of people kind of have around that same number. If you picked up almost every single one, like I said, I picked up almost every single one of first-party Sony. That makes for some consistency problems. When Sony released the game, I absolutely, most of the time, loved it. Uncharted 4, the super underrated Tearaway Unfolded, and then, like I was saying earlier, the super underrated Infamous Second Son, in my opinion. And unlike the Xbox One, like I said earlier, I'm not done with the PS4. Far from it. There are still plenty of PS4 games that I have to beat. And even, like I said, exclusive-wise that I have to finish. And I want to pick up. So there's still more on this catalog that I'm still excited to go up to and play. Which is awesome to say, because I cannot say that even slightly about the Xbox One. And that's why I really enjoyed the PS4. Even though it did have those consistency problems and the flow of games were sparse, they would always be about 2 to 3 a year max. It was still a great console. I'll probably say a very good console. I don't know if I'll say a literal great one, but it was definitely a very good one. Because when Sony hit it out of the park with those games, they hit it out of the fucking park, man. And even stuff like The Last of Us Part 2, people have their problems with it, and I have some of my problems with it, but I still love that game. I think it's a great fucking game, but I know people also think it's the worst game ever. I don't know, whatever. Even games like Knack, you know, I haven't beaten Knack, but I do want to beat it one day because I feel like that might be a game people kind of look too down on. I could see it actually end up being a pretty decent game. I played a few hours of it. I was enjoying myself. Not every exclusive for every console is going to be a goddamn 10 out of 10. Or even a 9 or even an 8. But to me, that's fine. That's variety of games. If you have a good game, a 7 out of 10, that's a good game. You enjoyed it. You have your problems with it. But you enjoyed it. You had fun. And that's what matters. One of my biggest problems, though, with Sony's exclusives, especially in the PS4 generation, is they've become very one. They lack variety when it comes to exclusive games. One of my favorites was Tearaway Unfolded, which, to be fair, I'm counting it, but it's almost really just a port of the Vita version, just expanded on. But I will count it, because or else that would be down to 13 games. But that was like a platformer, you know, and that's rare, man. That's rare. Most Sony games were third-person, over-the-shoulder adventure cinematic games. And that could get quite annoying. Even a game like Concrete Genie that I really enjoyed is still very cinematic. And in the second half of the game, it becomes a over-the-shoulder third-person action game. And I'm like, dude, Sony, relax. Relax, bro. You were doing a different genre and then you had to go into some third-person action game. Like, you had to do it. And I guess it's because that's what they are great at. But at the same time, I think they just are worried to try new things. I wasn't around for the PS2 generation quite like that. Like I said, I enjoyed that system, but I barely played games. And then I was so young, you know, I just played what I had, right? But in terms of the Sony exclusives for PS2, there was a large variety. PlayStation 1, large variety. And hell, even PS3, there's a decent amount of variety. But unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of those franchises on the PS4. Something like Ratchet and Clank got a remake. Little Big Planet 3 was on PS3, so it was just they just decided to push it to PS4 also. They have series franchises that cross into different genres, but they don't quite use them. So unfortunately, a lot of what made Sony was that third person over the shoulder cinematic experience. And if you like those, which I do, that's great. But the thing is, when you have a lack of games every year, 2 to 3, and then you also have all of them being very similar in terms of genre, it can get quite annoying. Luckily, they own Media Molecule, so they can release a Dreams and a Tearaway every 6 years. For every 6 years that a Media Molecule game comes out, you have a bunch of other ones of the same genre in between. And that's unfortunate, because I would like there to be more variety. I like different genres. I like video games. I know that sounds crazy. I like playing different genres. And unfortunately, Sony in PlayStation 4 years doesn't quite do that. They really don't. Awesomely, though, on the PlayStation 5's launch, you have games like a Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a very cinematic-heavy game, but you also have Sackboy: Astro's Playground, which is very cool, even if Sackboy is also on PS4. So even that's not really exclusive anyway, but I feel the weaknesses of the Sony PlayStation 4 was the fact that they lacked consistency in games and they lacked variety in genres. And I hope for PlayStation 5 that'll change and we'll see a bunch of different franchises come back, some new ones in different genres, and I think we'll be good, man. I think we'll be good. I enjoyed the PlayStation 4 a lot. I think it was a really solid console. When it comes to multiplats, there's a lot of times I pick it up on my PS4 or even over my PC. Even though I'm on my PC, it's like so much more powerful than this base PS4 that I own. But I still like owning physical copies, and so if I was going to buy a physical copy on anything, I was going to buy it on the PS4. And I love those PS4 box arts. The little PS4 thing on the side, it looks great. I love it. The PS5 is sadly not going to be like the Xbox Series X, in which backwards compatibility for PS1 to 4 is going to be all used, but instead it's just going to be the PS4, which is fine, but I would have liked to see the PS1 to PS3. I know that's very tough to do, but if they could somehow do that 1 year, 1 day, just release an all-in-one PlayStation box, it would help me a lot, as I'm going back all the time to play PS1 to 2 and 3 games. I just picked up the Sly collection for PS3. Never played those games before. And hey, again, that's another franchise that is a different genre. And that would be cool to come back, Sony. I have a lot of fond memories with the PlayStation 4. And there's enough games on there where I literally am not finished playing the PS4. There are still plenty of games I'll be playing, whether it be third-party multiplat or from the first-party Sony. I still have probably years to go with this console, which is awesome to say, which I think shows that it was a pretty damn good console. I really enjoyed it. It's just they got to get better with more genres and just being more consistent when it comes to first party. I'm not asking for 8 games a year, but I think, you know, five games a year from Sony. I mean, these, you know, they are only a big corporation, right? So you would think, you know, and I'm not even saying, like, again, that's the thing, is a lot of people think when I mean 5 games, they mean crazy big, huge budgets. You know, unfortunately, when they think big, huge budgets, they mean like cinematic experiences. Again, I already talked about how I don't really want more of those all the time. I do want variety, and if that means some smaller, and I put in quotations smaller, they're not smaller, they're still as big, just they're not as expensive to produce, like a Tearaway, like a Gravity Rush 2, which admittedly, yes, I get it, I didn't pick up Gravity Rush 2. I want to, I will one of these days, but you get what I'm saying. Different genres, I will pick them up, because I'm not trying to add more games to the backlog, so I have to pick them up that year, or else I'm never playing it. Yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to the PS5. I'm not picking it up day one or even probably the first 2 months or something. I will probably pick it up early next year, maybe February, March, like the PS4. I'm excited though. I'm really excited to play Astro's Playground. I know it's a short game, but I think it's gonna be a blast anyway. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be picking up Sackboy on PS4 because I have no reason to buy it on PS5. Like, It's alright. Prettier graphics aren't $500 worth it to me. But I'm excited for the DualSense, see what they do with those triggers. I think that could potentially be really cool for Media Molecule. I don't know if any other developers are really going to truly take advantage of it after the first couple of years. But man, Media Molecule, I see you. Come on, please, please make a good game with that. Did you play the PS4? Do you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know what your thoughts on the PlayStation 4 were down below in the comments. And I'll see you guys next time. PlayStation 5, I'm looking forward to it. PS4 was a very good console that had the potential to be fucking amazing, but they just were shaky in terms of the consistency and the lack of variety in genres. But overall, I had a ton of fun with the console, and I can't wait to look. I'm looking forward to the PS5 for sure. So, see you guys next time. Peace. You see, Sony? You see what the hype you could get with Ratchet and Clank Drift Apart? Why do you have to skip a whole generation? Don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people are hyper Ratchet and Clank because of graphics, which is, come on. Like, yeah, it's a beautiful game, but I don't think, if you never played Ratchet and Clank and you don't give a shit about the game, you're not going to give a shit about that game. The last Ratchet and Clank to come out was on PS3, so they skipped the whole gen. Jesus, Sony, come on. Come on, Sony. Like there's an actual reason to even stay awake. My fears feel finally gone. My ears are eating up these songs. I think I might be moving on. I feel so great, like I need this break. No work, just kick back and play some PlayStation. Not worrying about the problems that I'm facing. I'm in a pumped up party mood, chilling with the fucking dudes tonight.